Hello and welcome to a brand new advanced listening practice lesson. I'm Drew Badger, the world's #1 English fluency guide and the co-founder of EnglishAnyone.com. As always, if you are new to the channel, I recommend you go back and watch some of the previous videos so that you can see, things like learning grammar or practicing idioms or other specific phrases, because in this series, Advanced Listening Practice, everything is much faster and I'm blending all of my sounds together. So if you are not used to the sound of my voice, then I highly recommend you go back and get used to the sound of my voice with some of the other kind of easier to understand or slower or more simple things on the channel. If you are, though, let's begin. Well, I thought I would make this video today because I had a really interesting talk with my dad today. I finally got him on Skype. We're like good buddies, good friends, but we just don't communicate. We don't really speak that often. I don't know, maybe it's the same thing in your family, like maybe you're a guy and you have a father and you don't speak with him very much, but when you do, it's just like riding a bike. This is a great English expression you can use to talk about something that, even if you haven't done it in a long time, when you do decide to do that thing again, it's just like riding a bike. So if you haven't ridden a bike for many years, you get back on a bike again, and it's really easy to start doing again. So when my dad and I do get to talking, we talk about a lot of interesting things, and it's like we, never stop talking. So it's always fun when we do talk, and we've, always got plans to talk more often, even though we really never do, but we probably should make plans to do that more. Anyway, so I was talking with my dad, and we were talking about a peculiar habit. This word peculiar just means something that's odd or strange, but it's a little bit more of an advanced way of expressing this. So to have a peculiar habit means to have something that's maybe a little bit odd or different from what most people do. And this actually isn't such a peculiar habit, really, for most people in terms of communicating with other people, but the peculiar thing, the weird or interesting thing, is that we both do it, and, as another kind of expression that you can use, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You probably have something like this in your native language, the apple. So you have an apple tree, and the apple, like, falls. That's kind of like the parent is the apple tree, and the child is the apple down here. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It just means that parents are often alike or often like their kids. Or vice versa. Kids are often like their parents. Anyway, so we were talking about the fact this peculiar habit that we have is bringing up conversations or just starting to talk to people randomly, just people that we meet on the street or at, the bus stop or at the movie theater or wherever we happen to be, because we both do this. He was talking about other people kind of think it's strange that he does this. And if you've seen my dad on the channel, he's a fun-loving guy. He likes to communicate with people. He likes to talk. So he likes to, try to open up communication with people the same way I do when we're, talking with people, and maybe other people are kind of, I guess, like a typical situation would be like, especially here in Japan, when you sit on a train with people, nobody talks to people they don't know. You would never begin a conversation with a complete stranger, and it's very rare that people kind of break out of the situation that they're in normally when they're, just doing their kind of everyday work. So a situation like when I go into a Japanese convenience store and I'm talking to the clerk behind the counter, I would say, "Oh, hey, how are you?" And they kind of snap out of their usual working mode, which is like, yes, hello, they just say their thing and they accept payment, and then the customer leaves. And this is what most people do when they go into a convenience store. So they don't really have a connection, but actually, sometimes I'll go into the convenience store and most people have name tags. So even in Japanese, they'll have the name tag and you can read it, and I'll say, "Oh, hello," whatever the name of the person is, and they'll kind of look at me like it's a completely different world, something like that. But anyway, I just thought it was really interesting that this isn't a habit that's specifically taught by people that are trying to help other people get fluent in a particular language, but it's actually a really valuable skill. It's kind of something I do. With Master English Conversation members, I give them speaking missions like this where they go out and have to practice with people that they wouldn't normally speak with, but it's a really good example of a way that, something that's just like a natural habit that you have, it just happens to be good also for language learning. So when you're thinking about doing something like this, try to think about the habits that you have naturally that you use in your own language that have really nothing to do with learning a different language. It's just something you do naturally for your own language. And think about the way you can combine these things or use these things, apply these things when you're talking about building fluency in English or any other language. So this is, having the confidence to speak to other people no matter what they'll say to you. Maybe like they don't want to talk to you, and that happens sometimes. They say, "Oh, hello." I remember I was actually sitting at I was at a restaurant with some other people. It was a group of people. Some of them I did know, some of them I did not. And I said, "Oh, hello," to some woman. And I was like, "Oh, you have like a nice shirt on," or something like that. And she kind of gave me like an angry look. And, she didn't really want to speak with me. And she actually said that. She was like, "I don't want to talk with you right now. I'm not in a talking mood," or something like that. So I said, "Oh, okay, that's fine." And I just turned and started talking to somebody else. So it does happen, just like anything else. You're going to have some people that either don't want to talk to you, or it's annoying, or, whatever that thing happens to be. But on the whole, WHOLE, like the total. So even though some part of that might not be so great, most of it is. Most people are really happy to have someone just say like hello, or even just smile at somebody. Even if you don't say anything, I'll walk into stores or whatever. I see random people like out walking, and I'll just give them like a little, hello, like that. Just a little bow, like a nod, that kind of thing. And this can really help you build your confidence, because again, you're like, even initiating a conversation with someone, especially if you're really nervous to speak, it's not just like you go from nothing to speaking. There are like a few steps that happen in between. So you can kind of say hello, you can nod to someone, and like if they nod back, then like you've taken a step closer to maybe having a conversation with that person. And then you say maybe hello or hi or something, and if they say hi back, and you say, "Oh, nice weather, isn't it?" or something like that. This is the kind of thing that happens when you get into an elevator, or you're standing somewhere with somebody waiting, and like, you're just looking to have a friendly conversation. You're trying to connect with people, even if it's just somebody that maybe you'll never see again, or, it's just a random person that you just feel like talking with. But really, the point is that you should be using all of these opportunities, whether it's in English or in your own language, to actually develop the skill of communicating with people that you've never met before. Because if you can do this in your own language, it's much easier to translate that into speaking a different one. So in the case of myself, again, because I have the natural tendency of like wanting to try to communicate with people I don't know, that even though I'm really scared to do it in Japanese, well, I'm not scared anymore, but when I was first learning the language, I was really nervous about doing that, but it still made me want to like try to say something like say hello, or figure out some way to communicate with these people. Because it's only like when you finally communicate that everyone becomes human. Otherwise, we're just kind of robots, going about our daily life. I'm just walking to work, or I'm working as a clerk in a convenience store, or whatever that thing is. But the moment we speak to each other, that's the moment we become, human to one another. And like everything changes, and it changes in an instant. So this is something my dad and I both enjoy, and it was funny that we were talking about it. Now, this kind of connects with another idea that I wanted to actually talk about in this video. So I was like planning on kind of doing this video and talking about permission and forgiveness. So this is it's connected to this idea, but I wanted to talk about that specifically when I thought about making this video. So especially in Japan, I'll just use this as another Japanese example, but it's much better like being a foreigner, or pretty much anybody, in the kind of Japanese system where people have very strict rules, or pretty strict rules about how you should be doing something, that if you're going to try to do something different and you mention that beforehand, like if I go to my Japanese boss, I work at a Japanese company, and I say, "Hey, I want to try to do something different. I have a good idea." They would say, "No, like we're not going to do that." I mean, some people might, but usually on the whole, it's probably not going to work that way. So in Japan, often it's better to do something first and then ask for forgiveness rather than permission. So this is good, again, goes along with the same idea of like, when you go and talk to a clerk at a convenience store, you don't necessarily have like permission to speak with that person. Maybe they don't want to talk to you. It doesn't really matter, but it's better just to try to like do it first and then get forgiveness afterwards. So you can ask for forgiveness, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you didn't want to talk, or you were busy," or something like that. So if you can develop, again, these habits, like when people think about studying languages, they think about nouns and verbs and, specific things that they have to study in order to get the language. But you don't learn a language in a vacuum. This is another great expression, to be in a vacuum means that something is not connected to other things. How you learn a language is also determined by what your level of confidence is, what other kinds of things you know, what your interests are. So all of these things come together when you're thinking about learning a language, and it's kind of what creates the you that can get fluent. So it's not about just the language, and that's why I teach a lot of the actual words and phrases from English, but I spend a lot more time making videos like this, where I talk about the psychology, the mindset, the way of thinking that comes behind being fluent. And sumimasen. Well, that was interesting. We got somebody, did you see my face? That was pretty interesting. We had some people come in. I'm actually recording at that was pretty funny. I'm going to keep this in the video anyway. We'll see how it goes. So anyway, the point is that you should be thinking about all the interesting things, the different things that happen, all of the things that actually are kind of around the words and phrases that you use, and that's what's going to help get you fluent. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Do like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and tell like 300 people about it. Sometimes I say tell 3 people, but try to tell 300. I think 300 people is an even better number than 3. Anyway, have a fantastic day. Comment down below, tell me about some random person you tried to meet, or after watching this video, come back and comment and tell me about maybe somebody you met through an experience like saying hello at a convenience store or something like that. And it doesn't matter whether it's in your native language or whether it's in English or whatever, anything else like that. The point is, I want you to develop confidence such that you can use that confidence for whatever it is you want to do, whether it's learning a language or improving your professional career or anything else like that. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope you have had a fantastic time listening. And if you have any questions or comments, let me know, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye. To continue learning, click on the link in this video to download Speak English Naturally, our free guide to speaking and sounding like a native English speaker. The guide reveals the 3 most important kinds of conversational English you must learn if you want to sound native, and will help you experience instant improvement in your fluency and speaking confidence. To download your free guide on a mobile device, click on the link in the upper right of this video. To download your free guide from a computer, click on the link in the lower right of this video. I look forward to seeing you in the guide.